What's up, military millionaires? I'm your host, David Pere, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Mr. Alexander Felice, and my friend, Marty Tyler, who invests in the same market I do, and he's been in the Air National Guard for 20 years. Marty and I have gotten to become friends over the last probably 2.5 years or so, ever since I invited him to lunch, or he invited me to lunch, and then I invited like 7 or 8 other people and didn't actually get to talk to him most of the lunch. And then I've been basically in his debt now for like a year. But anyway, so Marty is a solid investor in my area and a friend and Air National Guard, but he also has probably the coolest story for purchasing a house or one of the coolest stories that I know. And so I was like, dude, I got to get you on the show. We got to talk about this. And here we are. Welcome to the Military Millionaire Podcast, where we teach service members, veterans, and their families how to build wealth through personal finance, entrepreneurship, and real estate investing. I'm your host, David Pere, and together with my co-host, Alex Felice, we're here to be your no BS guides along the most important mission you'll ever embark on, your finances.
Vehicle 1, you're clear to depart friendly lines.
Roger, Vic 1, Oscar Mike. So Marty, how are you?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah.
So I guess the first thing I normally do is just say, hey, tell us a little bit about yourself and, a little bit of how you got into real estate. We'll start there, and then I'm going to itch to get into this fun one.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I joined the Air Force in 2001, right before September 11th. I've always just kind of been liking real estate. I like to watch HGTV on that income property. It just always seemed to make sense to me. And so when I got out of active duty 7 years later, I built a garage that I put an apartment on top so I could rent it. And so I did that. And then I've just kind of been buying stuff, did a couple flips and decided buy and hold was my area that I liked. So been doing that pretty hot and heavy over the last couple of years.
Simple enough. I like it.
Yeah.
Do you still have the apartment over the garage?
Yep. I got somebody renting it right now.
That's cool.
So my $1,000 mortgage, I only pay $500 after. Let them pay half my mortgage for me.
I like it. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. So house hackish, I guess.
House hackish, but you get to still keep a little bit of your independence. I love that.
Yeah. 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 We share a driveway. That's it.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So we can, I'm just going to go right into it because this one's fun. So I guess the preface for this was that Marty and I were talking about some tax lien stuff because there's some auctions in town. And I was like, man, I was trying to do these auctions, but I'm still out of state. You have to be there in person. And I was just talking about it. I think I posted about it in a Facebook group. Marty's like, oh, I've done that. So we start talking, whatever. And I knew he'd done some cool deals with it and bought some houses that way. But then we were home recently and, well, I'll just let you tell the story of, which deal I'm talking about.
Yeah. So I started here lately, been going to like estate auctions where there's auctioning the real estate, and I was able to get a couple sweet deals on there. And so then I saw the tax liens for our county come across the local newspaper. And so I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm going to go there. I'm going to buy some land just so we can kind of figure it out. I said, worst case scenarios, we end up with some land that we can ride our four-wheelers on and that sort of stuff. So she's like, cool, go for it. So I go there, and the very first house they auction off, and it's like, I don't know, $2,000 and nobody's bidding. So I was like, all right, I'll throw my hand up. Right. So I end up winning. And then I end up winning like 3 auctions for houses at like, I don't know, $6,000 total or something. So I got no clue what I'm doing. Then the auction is over and everybody starts leaving. So I'm just kind of standing around there. And the guy goes, well, I'm going to auction off these properties that haven't sold in the last 3 years. I'm going to auction them off starting with a $90 bid. And so I was like, wait a minute. So it's just $90? And he's like, yeah. And so I was like, all right, I'll take that one. And so he did a couple of them at $90. And so I got them both. So I ended up with 5 properties on this visit. So I had no clue what I was doing. I walked up to the guys like, well, how much do I owe? And so, he was telling me. So I was writing him out a check, and he's like, hey, those 2 houses that you bid $90 on? I said, yeah. He said, you get immediate possession of those 2 houses. You don't have to wait the year and do all that other stuff like you do with the other ones. You can have it. So I was like, cool. He's like, well, you got to go to the city and make sure there's no fines. So I did that. I don't know, I paid a couple $100 for each one or something like that. So they give me this address and it's in town where I'm at. So I just drive over there and I knock on the door and I said, hey, I now own this place. You either got to pay rent or get out. And so it's this dude, young kid, he's kind of tweaking and stuff on drugs, it looked like. And he's like, well, it's my dad's house. And I was like, all right, here's my number. Tell him he's got to call me quick. Otherwise, I'm going to evict you. So a couple of days later, this guy calls me and he's like, hey, that's my house. I was like, all right, so you can either got to pay rent or get out. And he's like, well, how much would it cost me to buy it back from you? And I hadn't even thought about it, didn't even know anything about it. And I just said $25,000. And he said, can I pay you $350 a month? And I said, yep. And so I went to the lawyer, drew up the contract, and he's paid me 18 months of $350 a month.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like a 200% return every month.
Every month, yeah. So I think I added it up. I think I told you I got like $250 into the deal total. And yeah, so he's paid me like $4,500 so far.
That's pretty good. What about the other ones?
So the other one was just a vacant lot. The city had torn the house down. It was a house fire and they tore it down. And so that was a vacant lot. I kept it for about a year trying to sell it. I literally just sold it last week. So I had probably $1,000 total in it and I sold it for $3,500 for just a little piece of property.
With the first guy that's paying you rent,
mm-hmm.
How did he lose it? That's what he was doing?
Well, so that's what he's doing to me. So he called me and said, I'm an over-the-road truck driver, and my wife was supposed to be paying the bills. She didn't, and she's left me. And he's like, I don't want to lose my house. And I was like, okay, man. So I just rattled off that number. Like I said, I hadn't even thought about it. He just said how much to do it. I was $25,000.
Did you look later? How far off were you?
I've never set foot in that house, man. I didn't care. I mean, if you turn $250 into $25,000, I mean, I got zero complaints. So he deposits it in my account on the first of every month, man. He's been late a couple times. I've threatened to evict him and, that sort of stuff a couple times, but ever since then, man, he's paid.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So those are those deals that just get you jonesing, man. Like, oh my God, that's so awesome.
Well, and you kept some of did you get to close on, so the other three that you got tax lien. So for those of you who don't know, and I haven't done this, but correct me if I'm wrong, but tax lien, you buy the lien. If they pay you back, they have a year to pay you back. If they do, I think it's a minimum 10% interest that you get on whatever you paid for the tax lien. And then if they don't pay you back, then you can essentially foreclose through the city. Did you end up getting to keep any of those, or did they all pay you out?
So I had one pay me out and I got two properties. So one I made my 10% on, and then I got two houses that, I've had to put some money in, but it's minimal investment. And then I got long-term buy and holds. So
you essentially paid like $7,500 at an option for 5 homes. Well, yes. 4 homes and a lot.
4 homes and a lot.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you think about it, I've already made all my money back on everything. And I have 2 long-term buy and holds out of it. Plus he still owes me another $20,000 or whatever.
Yeah. Have you done that since? Have you gone back and done more tax purchases like that?
Yeah. So this year I did, that was 2 years ago. This year I did another one. So I'm currently in my 1-year waiting period. I went to a different county to try to see if that would kind of spice it up, but that county didn't do the $90 thing. So next year I'm going back to that county that does the $90.
Yeah. As soon as that happened, I'd have been like, I'm going to go back to and see if I can get another. How many more of these you got?
I know, man. It was just brand new. So I was just like, well, I'll just roll the dice on these 2 and see what happens. And so, yeah, next year I'll buy all of them. Worst case scenario is I'm out $90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't, can you get stuck with any real liens? I mean,
like the 2 that I have liens against the previous owners. And so I can never sell it, but I can rent them out forever because they're mine. They just have liens against the property from previous owners. Gotcha. So they can't come back to me, but I can't sell it like through a bank, through the MLS.
Without
That's the only down part of it. Yeah, without either satisfying the liens or going with an attorney and paying a couple grand, which I may do that eventually. But for right now, I've just got it in my name with liens against it.
The biggest bummer in our area is that every auction goes on the same day. So you can't. So like Marty and I were joking about it. It was like, dude, we could just like roadshow every county in the next, like within 50 miles will go on that day. But it's the same day. So, I mean, literally like we've joked about it, but like when I get back there, we'll find like 2 or 3 people and be like, all right, this is what this is the criteria. You go to this county, you go to this county, you go to this county, you go to this county. And we're basically rolling the lotto here for if we can find some like $1,000 house that, at that point, I mean, it's kind of like we were talking about with Matt earlier. Like, okay, if you lose $1,000 on a house, it's not the end of the world, especially if the upside is potentially, 10x, 100x, whatever. So
yeah. So like one of them, I think. Yeah. So the one I just here recently finished, I put 3,000 down for the tax lien, and I probably put 8 or 10 grand in it, fixing it up to get it rentable. But I'm in it for 13, 15 grand, and I've got a long-term rental of $500 a month. That's pretty, what is that? The 3% rule, 3.5% rule, something like that. So
do we talk about your division duplex on here? Because if we do, I mean, I wasn't trying to rub salt in the wound, but like, there are people listening. My point would there are people listening to this who would just like cringe because it's a risk, right? It's a gamble. You don't know what's going to happen with these tax liens. But the reality is, like, you bought a property that should have been perfectly fine, right? A duplex on a street that is a major thoroughfare in the area. Division is east-west. I got 2 properties that are within 1 block of Division, and I'm closing on a Division house in 2 weeks. And you just ended up in this thing that happened to be the wrong block of Division. And I would be willing to bet that one property that was bought the right way, renovated the right way, and everything was done like the normal way is probably more stressful than all of these things combined. So it's like,
yes, for sure. Yeah. I've wasted more time and dollars and man hours of thought and that sort of stuff on that duplex than I probably have on all my tax liens altogether. And that was, like you said, I bought that through a wholesaler, did the renovations, did the burr, all that stuff that everybody talks to you about that you're supposed to do. And it just hasn't worked out. So now it's the last thing on my list. And so now I'm concentrating on only that. And I'm just kind of blocking out everything else until I can get that up and running, hopefully. Although our boy Wes may have a buyer for it. So
yeah, our boy Wes might have a buyer for my 10 unit right now. I don't know.
Nice.
So it's a weird market that we live in.
Yeah. Do you have any problems with pivoting? Please. I have a problem with. Do you have any problems with pivoting like that? Like I can't do more than I can't. It's very hard for me to focus on more than one thing at a time.
So for me, I can multitask pretty good, but that's in a little bit different market. I've never done a duplex. I've never done one downtown. And so I figured that I could use my systems in place on that property, and it hasn't worked. And so now I just need to turn it over to a property manager and just do it that way. And so it's just, it's an hour from my house. And so I just kind of, I wouldn't say it's hard to pivot, but it's just everything that I thought would happen with it hasn't happened. It's just been I wouldn't
say it's hard for you to pivot. Why don't you talk about your other totally not similar at all property that's right around from where you live? The man owns a laundromat.
Oh yeah, I own a laundromat. Yeah,
him. No, it's one thing. It's one thing to have multiple feeds. I just mean, like, can you buy the laundromat and do the rentals at the same time? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Can you go in acquisition mode for both?
Yeah, I can do that, but it's one of those things where if my normal system isn't working, then I just kind of put it off to the side. You know what I mean? It's got to fit in my lane of what I can do. And if it doesn't, then it throws me off a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I get that. I can't, if I had to, I love my partner so much. If I had to actually do the things he does, I'd be dead in the water in a week.
Yeah.
I can't do any of that stuff. I can't actually do anything. I'm just good at getting people.
Just good at getting everybody else to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the way I manage my properties, I manage everything myself, but I do it through a VA. And so down there in that market, it's a little different to get tenants, and it's a little different. So she's not able to do that, and I'm not able to communicate with her on how to do it. So I've got to be able to do it all. And so when it just started to go off the rails, I was just like, throw it off to the side. Like, I can't.
Yeah. Don't try to do the things like outsource it.
Yeah. Yeah. So now it's just
outsource it.
Fix it up, get it to a property manager and let them deal with it, or let somebody buy it.
I think there's a really, really good moral in there. And Alex just hit the nail on the head. Is a lot of people get, when they get into something and it stops, it's not your zone. It's like, well, how do I learn how to do this? How do I, and there's a time and a place for that, but there's absolutely something to be said for the ability to just say, nope, this is not me. Like, I mean, we joke about it all the time, but like the reason I use a property manager, I would be the worst freaking property manager in the world. So I don't do it. I don't touch it. I won't touch it. Not my thing. And I think there's a lot of power in that. And unfortunately, people get sucked into trying to do everything themselves. And I don't know that playing to your weaknesses is ever really a good idea.
Yeah. So that's been my concentration for 2021 is I bought a couple houses, regular bigger pockets, 1% rule off the MLS, that kind of stuff. And they were my two worst performing properties just because that's not what I'm good at. That's not for me. And so I've already offloaded one of them. In the next 6 months, I'll offload the other one. And so I'll have nothing but either multifamilies, small multifamilies, or tax liens. And then that's it. I'm just concentrating on those. Other people can do the bigger pockets, 1% rules, all that stuff. Let them deal with that. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I go more by, rather than trying to figure out what my strengths, weaknesses are, I just kind of figure out what I like. And so, and the first way that I noticed it for myself is procrastination. If I find myself procrastinating, it's like whatever that I've set myself up for, I've told myself I'm going to do a job that I don't like. Because if it's something that I'm actively, procrastination is like the most noticeable. We know when we do it. So people, but they, it's like, it feels normal, but it's actually not. Or how do I say it? It's more like it's your body telling you that you don't want to do something. If you don't want to do it, trying to build a business around something you don't want to do is not a long-term viable strategy. Because like you said, you're like, I don't want to do it. What's the fuck's point? Right. There's not enough money in it. I promise you, there's not enough money in it for you to voluntarily do something you don't want to do. So for me, certainly going towards things you are uncomfortable or getting out of your comfort zone and growth. And that's all certainly part of it. But for me, the first thing I notice is procrastination. If I don't want to do something and my body is like really resenting me for it, really putting it off, it's like outsource it.
Yeah.
I don't want to
hear in the phrase I've been hearing a lot lately, I guess it's kind of becoming a buzzword, but is does this feel heavy or does this feel light? Like when you think about it, like the moment you think of having to do something, are you like immediately like, oh, okay. Or, and it's like, oh, there's your answer. And I've been trying to kind of use that as a filter a little bit more frequently.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. I've been kind of doing that too. And that's why I think about those properties where I have a mortgage. And so, thinking of how am I going to pay the mortgage without somebody in there, that part weighs on me. And so that does feel heavy. With tax liens, I own it outright. It can sit there for a month until I find the right tenant, or if I'm busy with this project over here and I got to do something else, then that's what I, just leave it there. So, but Alex, going back to your point, like I enjoy the chase and the auction format and trying to find a sweet deal and that sort of stuff. That's my favorite part of it. And so that's why the biggest part of my strategy going forward is going to be the, auctions, estate auctions, tax lien auctions, that sort of stuff, because that is my favorite part of this whole thing. You know what I mean? And so dealing with the BS to get them is worth it to me because of all the fun I have.
Yeah. That's my least favorite part, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to do that. Actually, I keep all this whole conversation with me telling you I don't do any of these things.
So what do you do exactly?
Right now, I'm trying. Right now, my hair looks good. Right now, my current strategy is I'm going to try to find somebody to find me a deal, find somebody to pay for it, find somebody else to do the underwriting, and then I'm going to put my name on it.
It's funny, but it sounds true.
It sounds pretty true. Yeah.
That's basically, I did a lot of work in the last one, actually. And I'm sure I'll work on the next one, but that's my current plan.
I like it.
But yeah, I mean,
man.
deal hunting like at an auction, yeah, I'd get so. I mean, it's exciting. I used to do it with cars, but yeah, not for me. Like, it's hard for me to get out. I hate getting the momentum machine because deal flow is about keeping that pipeline filled.
Yeah,
you know, and you go to auction. Maybe you hit, maybe you bust. I got to go back. You know, it's like it's a process. You don't just show. It's not inventory, right? It's not inventory. Like I wish it was inventory. It's like, yeah, this is what's going to work. We're going to buy it like this. Da da da. I'll put it together. I'll tell everybody how to do it.
So we kind of skipped over we talked tax liens briefly, but we skipped over the estate sales. I'm kind of curious, like I haven't really talked to anyone before who's done estate auctions. I don't even know that you and I had mentioned that talked estate sale auctions. Like, I guess my question would be like, what, where are you finding those? Is that Craigslist, like random Craigslist ads, and kind of what is that? I would just be curious. I've done, it sound like a very Missouri thing to say, but I've been to a cattle auction and bought a bull that way, but I've not bought a house. So,
way to go all country on us.
I know. That thing made me some money.
So the first house that I bought outside of my rental at my house was, I was just driving by and saw a sign that said estate auction. And then it was like house for sale or something or whatever. And it had this phone number on there. And so I called the guy and I'm just like, hey, can I come look at the house? He's like, sure. Just some good old boy lets me in there. And so that's when my, thoughts on HGTV and these income properties and stuff was kind of just kicking in. Was like, it had a full basement that was unfinished. It was all 1970s, that sort of stuff. And so I was just like, boom, boom, boom. So then I showed up the day of the auction and there's only 25 people there and only 4 or 5 of us were interested in the house. Everybody else was interested in grandma's old recliner and that sort of stuff. And so then I just had to beat out 5 people. And so I ended up winning it. We flipped it. I made every mistake in the book. It was my first one. And I still made 15 grand on it. So then a couple months later, I'm driving by again. I see another one and I show up and the guy's like, hey, it's these 2 houses. I'm going to auction off both of them. I was like, cool. One I was interested in, one I wasn't. And so I started bidding and it was literally me and this old guy just bidding against each other. And so I got this house for 16 grand. And the guy walks up to me and he says, I'll sell you the one next door for 16 grand if you want it. I was like, all right, cool. So I ended up with both houses for 32 grand. So, I'm on, Facebook and all that stuff. I like all the local auction companies and that sort of stuff. And as soon as I see one that's going to be, it'll say like real estate auction or something. And so I'll go, or I'll contact the auction house or whatever. And then I'll say, hey, is there a reserve on there? Because then if there is, and I know I'm probably not getting a deal, then I really won't go at time. But some of them will be like, nope, no reserve. And so I went to a couple of them. I didn't win. It went too high for me, but I always go just in case. Because, it just takes that one small chance that it's just you and an old man. And, he's just bidding on it just because or whatever. And so then I only have to beat out the people that are there. I don't have to beat out everybody on the MLS or everybody on the, whatever. It's just whoever's there.
Yeah.
So for us here locally, it's a pretty sweet gig if you can find them.
I feel like I should probably preface for people who don't know this, but we're obviously not in San Diego. We're talking $16,000 house. So just know that as amazing as a $16,000 house is, right? Like I'm buying one for 13 in 2 days. Like there's a reason that it's usually that price, right? Like I'm not buying a $13,000 house to turn around and rent it for $2,000 a month. So no. Just want to make sure I put that in context.
Yeah, I had to put probably 15 grand into both of them into, total. So, I was probably 50 grand total, but I got 2 and, rent here is dirt cheap. So I got 2, $400 rentals or what out of it. So still good return, but like you said, I'm not,
we're not talking mansions here either. You showed up.
Exactly. That's all it takes, man. Just show up. I go to these things, tax sales, I show up. State auctions, I just show up. And that's what it took at the beginning. And that's what it's still taking now. Like even when I find some now, it's just showing up. And then, eventually you got to put it out, you got to push your chips in the middle. You know what I mean?
You got to make the bet. Yeah, for sure.
You got to just do it once.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you real quickly about PropStream, which is actually one of my favorite platforms that I've ever used for real estate investing, and I really wish I'd used it sooner. So PropStream is essentially if you combined list source with the MLS or multiple listing service with the ability to comp and pull tax records and all kinds of stuff. So you can pull super niche lists like somebody who inherited a home and tried to sell it and has 70% equity and failed to sell the home, and then you can send them letters. You can pull all kinds of listing and just more data than I even know what to do with. But you can also, if they have a property, you can see what else they own, and you can do all kinds of stuff. You can skip trace, you can send mailers, you can do, everything through this platform. And I recommend you check it out. There's like a 2-week free trial if you use our code, which is from militarytomillionaire.com/propstream, or down in the show notes /description. You'll see it. And I recommend you check it out because I've used it now for 4 months and I've got 4 deals that were all pulled through PropStream lists. So it is incredible.
But people are like, they're afraid to bet. I'm like, you're not even at the auction. Like, you're not even
exactly.
Like, you're like, oh, I'm afraid to buy the house. I'm like, how many bids have you put in? None. It's like, bro, you're not in any danger. Like, you got to get closer to the fire, but you got to get burned a little bit, to get this, to get it done. Like, you get burned, you got to get close at least, right?
Exactly.
As long as you know,
you got to
like
to the casino before you can even put your.
Nobody's going to force you to go over whatever your max is, as long as you know what your max is and you don't go over it.
Yeah, you bid low in the first few just to be like ultra safe. You're like, hey, that's a deal at 50. Offer 40. Okay, well, they said no. Now I want it. Now I saw. Then you see it sold for 50, and you're like, well, shit, I would have taken it at 50. Then so you got to get a little closer. But I love that showing up. Every time I have like no momentum. This last few weeks, I've been going through a momentum problem because all my big projects ended in December, at the end of December. And so now it's like, how do you get a deal? How do you get this video project done? How do you get that next multifamily? It's like, just start burning the phone down, showing up, like just letting everybody know, just networking, showing up, telling everybody what you got going on, pounding pavement.
You should have set some New Year's resolutions, Alex.
I set them all the time. I said, shut up.
Hashtag New Year, New Me.
I do. You know what? I have a problem though, because if I get on the treadmill, if I get on the pipeline treadmill where it's like I'm constantly in momentum working mode, I get sick of it because I'm lazy. And so then I'm like, I work for myself and I'm not happy. This sucks. So then I get frustrated. So now I try to like, I do it. Now I do it in this very, very volatile situation where I get a bunch of projects going, overload myself, get excited, keep at it. Like I'll keep the momentum going, but I'll be stressed out and then I'll close them all at once. And then I'll have nothing to do. And then I get bored and depressed. And I start the whole process over again.
Healthy. Yeah,
highly unhealthy.
Yeah.
This
is what you have to look forward to in retirement, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. Just show up. I told somebody today, he was like, what's the best piece of advice? And I was just like, whatever you're on the fence about, buy it. You're either going to make money or you're going to lose money. Either way, you're going to win because you gained the experience, you figured it out, that sort of stuff. So you just got to keep showing up, man. Now I'm out there. I've showed up to enough of these auctions. I'll get messages from people saying, hey, I'm going to auction this house off on this day. You should come, because they know that
like it.
More people coming is going to be more money for them, but it's also going to be a sweet deal for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the power of word of mouth.
Yeah. It's just
that's compounded.
You know what I mean? And like
that's showing up compounded. That's when you show up enough and people know you as a buyer, they know that you're a player because you've showed up enough times. Then the showing up comes to you. Hey, here's the deal. Hey, this is what you should be at. Hey, here's an opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah. Like these 2 houses in Knobnosh we were talking about before the thing started. I didn't do anything. This lady contacted me. She's like, hey, I'm getting out of the game. I just got married. You want to buy these 2 houses? I was like, yep. So she gave me sweet terms and there you go. I didn't do anything with it.
I can only imagine how wonderful this town is because I live or am familiar with your area and have never heard of that place. So
it's the town right outside of Whiteman Air Force Base.
Oh,
I'm going to rent to military people like a champ. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. That's cool though. That's awesome. Probably better tenant base than some of our clientele.
than what we're currently getting.
Yeah. So what's next? Obviously, if you're focus on tax auctions, right? So and auctions and stuff. That's It's not really, I would imagine not really a scalable. I mean, you're kind of waiting, right? Like you're kind of in the waiting in the weeds. Like, all right, where's the next thing coming? Like, do you care? Is that the game, or do you have plans to? Yeah, I don't know.
So I just, I like David Osborne, and he's just like get a property a year, and so that's my goal. So small multifamilies, I'm after. I can sort of look for those on the MLS and word of mouth and stuff, but I bought a tax lien last year that'll hopefully come due this year. That I'll take possession of the property, and then I'll go to the tax lien this year and hopefully at least get one for next year. And so I'm just going to kind of keep rolling it. I'll still show up to real estate auctions and stuff here locally. That they don't happen all the time. So, like Alex said, I'll just show up, and then, if the perfect thing presents itself, I'll be ready. I'll keep showing up, but I'm okay. I got my one house for this year. So that's just it. Just keep adding to it.
Especially now in this market where everything's so squeezed anyways. There'll be plenty of time to go fast, when it's not so competitive.
Yeah.
Right now it's like, the time to rush. You don't need to rush right now. It's hard to rush right now. I kind of do that where I'm like, dude, one, I'm going to do flips, but like one big property a year. That's going to kind of where I'm thinking to go to.
Yeah. And, that way it doesn't put a whole lot of stress on you. Like you said, you know what I mean? You're just, all you're doing is just kind of waiting. You're still doing your research. You're still putting feelers out there. And when the situation presents itself, you'll jump all over it, and then you'll be okay with it. But, if two present itself, I'm ready. If none present itself, that's okay. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to just keep adding, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll all average out.
Yeah. It's just, it's good to hear. It's good to hear when your ego's not in control. A lot of people, it's a lot of ego.
Yeah.
I got to do all this stuff right away. It's admirable. It's admirable to be ambitious, but it can get away from you. So I identify with this way more, where it's like one property a year. It stresses me out buying those big deals, especially. It stresses me out one a year. I add to cash flow. I don't have to worry about so much about keeping the momentum machine going to stay alive, like to keep the movement alive. Just like one a year goes to perpetuity.
Yeah. Like these wholesalers and stuff, man, where they're always just jobbing and stuff, trying to find that next deal, or these flippers I decided a long time ago, that ain't for me. You know what I mean? I just want to be there if the situation presents itself, and then it's fine. If it does, it's fine. If it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that attitude is
year.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I started flipping this year, but kind of just so I don't have to go back to work, because I hate it for the same reason, where it's like I got to get in that search mode, and then I need a deal. And then you mentioned wholesalers, and yeah, I think they're all really doing really well with the market's up. I worry. It's like, a lot of them are learning a good business, but when the momentum is behind them, it works really good. As soon as it's not, it's like, as soon as the buyers slow down, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. That's why the flipping business doesn't interest me at all, because, the bag you're going to be the one holding the bag when the market quits. You know what I mean? And you want to be holding onto that property. So that ain't for me, man. It's for some people, great. I'll help them. You know what I mean? But it ain't for me. I don't want it. So I just stick with what I want. I enjoy the crap out of it. And, like you said, man, just zero ego about it.
Yeah. I have a lot of ego. So specifically you. We don't relate in that way.
Yeah. But you hide it real well. It doesn't show up on Facebook or anything like that.
No,
right.
Very, very guy.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And then Dave, and also to add on to your question, I kind of like the laundromat. It's challenging, and I'm sort of figuring that out. So I may try to expand that a little bit this year. I've kind of went on to that biz buy sell or whatever it's called, and put in a couple offers for some laundromats and that sort of stuff. So I may try and expand that this year.
Well, I was going to wait till we got off the call, but I still got a washer dryer dose sitting in my they got brought up from the barn to the garage. You let me know next time you're headed towards Springfield.
Ooh, yeah.
It's like right off the highway. And tell my wife, yo, opened a garage. Take a look. Let me know if you want them.
Okay.
I for anyone who's listening to this wondering what the hell I'm talking about, I bought a monstrous building that required to have coin laundry for tenants. And I bought brand new coin laundry and it was great. I no longer have said building, but I had paid for the coin laundry. So you best believe I took the damn things with me thinking, oh yeah, I'll buy another big property soon. Yeah. And so now I've had them sitting in a barn like, okay, yeah, when I buy the next property, these things are going to be great. And it's been like 3 years. And I'm like, okay, I haven't, like, the property I bought had a contract for coin laundry and I can't get out of the damn contract yet. So I still have my own coin laundry. So I'm like, all right, you know what? If Marty has use for these things, like, enjoy, because they're just chilling right now.
Alex, I see that you're getting in on laundry too.
So I made a post on Instagram today I bought a 52 unit and it has a little community room and there's some washers and dryers in there. That's all it is. It's, I don't know.
You can come get them.
5 sets. No, I'm gonna go get more because they're actually in heavy use. And so I'm like, so we're going to do 2 things. We're going to install washer dryer hookups into half of our 52 units. And then we're going to add a few more washers and dryers into the community space. And I think we have a vending machine. So I've never owned a vending machine either. Now I own a vending machine. I mean, these are like really small businesses. These are not like big money makers, but I think I want to say on the pro forma, the vending machine and the wash and dryer hookup, like they made $1,000, $1,200 a month, something like that. It was pretty good. Wow.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
That sounds like an awful lot for just a few machines, but hey.
Then again, I
could be wrong, but I remember
it could be a lot more for a load where you are than it is for
true,
where we are.
I don't remember the exact numbers, but I remember thinking that sounded like a lot.
Yeah,
I remember thinking that sounds like a lot. Okay, well that's what they're reporting. So I mean, they put in their financials. So we're gonna go in there and we're gonna stock that vending machine and I said, you know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna put an ATM in here. That's what I'm gonna do. And so I'm on this little bug for the last day or so where all these little, dollar machines. And I got a whole bunch of these ideas from like, what if we could collect dollars from people all over the place? We get vending machines everywhere. Like as if I just figured this fucking thing out.
You just got to figure out how many of your clientele like to smoke pot. And then you just multiply that by the number of vending machines you need for munchies.
There you go.
You're good.
Yeah.
So on Instagram, I wrote, what should I fill my vending machine up with? And I put a poll and it was hot Cheetos or super hot Cheetos.
Definitely those.
Yeah.
I like the lime. I like the hot Cheetos with lime.
That's nobody can relate to that. Nobody else likes that but you.
Well, I appreciate you, Alex. You're a wonderful human being.
I know, right?
Alex, if you buy one of those changers, man, make sure you bolt that thing to the wall. Somebody jacked mine. Cost me like $450 for a new one.
Yeah, we're gonna bolt it to the ground is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And it's indoors. It's
bolt
indoors.
the bejesus out of it. Yeah.
So
was mine. Somebody went in there, snipped the wire, threw it in a trash can, and carried the trash can outside.
Oh, we don't have a changer in there. I was going to get a full I guess I was going to put a full ATM in there. I didn't think about a coin changer. Yeah,
get a coin changer.
Yeah,
it'll increase your business for sure.
I should do that too. Yeah, or what I should do? Can I just make the washers and dryers take dollars? Can I make them take credit cards? That's what I really want to do.
I looked into the credit card thing. It's freaking expensive, man.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, the transaction.
Because I wanted that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll have to get a change machine. That's a good idea.
Yeah. It'll increase your business for sure.
See?
Yeah.
The power of being around people who are doing stuff you want to do.
Do laundromats.
That's why I'm here. Yeah. I was a little worried when I first saw it. I was like, damn, community laundry at night, but the area is really good. Thankfully, not really good. Yeah. It's got a community laundry, but it's pretty good. So I'm not too worried about it, but
I lived in an apartment with community laundry at one point and I used it religiously.
Was it a nice place?
I was single at the time and I actually got a date out of said laundry room at one point. So, I used to mingle down there, read a book, watch my laundry go and chat at everyone that came in. It was real jamming laundromat.
And now she's Mrs. Pere.
No. I recruited her out of a high school when I was a recruiter.
There you go.
She was the counselor. Don't tell my command.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
the running joke
We'll
at
forget
one.
that one.
It was like the running joke at one point because like there was like literally at recruiter school, they're like, "Do not date faculty," and I'm over here like, well,
I mean, is a counselor a faculty?
you know, like the whole command knew my CO wasn't invited to the wedding, and then it was kind of like a running joke, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's not the worst crime.
No, I mean it worked out, right? Like it could have been a lot worse. Their whole fear was that if you date said teacher or counselor and then it's a really bad breakup, now the Marine Corps can't recruit from that school because they won't let you in the school over, whatever. And I'm like, I could see that. Yeah. Marines have a really great track record with bad breakups. So
yeah.
But
typical military, make a big deal out of nothing.
Yeah, there are worse things out there. All right. So Marty, got a few questions we always ask every guest. All right. So
Sure.
the first one is if like a E1, E2 was to walk up to you asking you for advice, real estate, life, whatever, like what's the one thing that you wish someone had pulled you aside when you were a young airman and said, you should know this?
Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Just do you, be you. Don't buy the car because somebody else bought the car. Don't buy the fancy house because someone else did. Don't date the chick because somebody else is dating her sister or whatever. Just do you. And just live your life.
I like that. I think the whole keeping up with the Joneses thing is super dangerous.
Yeah, it's so overblown, man.
I'm also
when you get
really
to be 40. Yeah, I mean, we all did it. You know what I mean? I had way expensive cars back when I was, active duty and that sort of stuff. And
Alex bought this.
Now I drive a Prius.
Now I have it. Yeah.
I know how to use mine.
Well, I mean, that's because I just bought it to keep up with you.
Actually, the camera is one of the least keeps up with the Joneses things that I do. I like this advice. This is good advice. It's very hard advice to take, but it is good advice. But the most keep up with the Joneses thing I do, or the least keep up with the Joneses thing I do, is the camera, because this thing right here, dude, I take pictures with that I process on my computer like diligently for hours that I never post because I don't care. Like I do that. I take those pictures. They're for me. I don't care if anybody sees them. I don't share 99% of them ever. And I'm like, nobody cares. I don't care. I'm happy. I buy the gear.
Everybody loves.
Yeah. Well, people have low standards. That's good advice though. That's good advice though. We always make the Mustang jokes on this podcast. Like, buy that Mustang. It's like, bro, that's like literally one of the biggest mistakes. Just buy it in 10 years. Every time you're like, I want to buy that stupid car. It's like, dude, in 10 years, I guarantee, my dream car. I'm like, they didn't make that car 10 years ago. How did you have dreams about it? Like, like just put that car off. That's usually the biggest one too.
Yeah. Just think how much money we'd have now if we would have taken the money that we spent on new cars and put it into real estate.
Yeah. I'd be too rich.
Just the new cars.
I'd be too rich to be dicking around with this podcast.
Yeah.
Sad but true. Because I joined in 2008, right? I got stationed in San Diego in 2011. Had I bought a house in San Diego in 2011, obviously hindsight's 2020. But if I even knew that buying a house was a thing in 2011, I could have bought any house I could have shaken a tree at, no matter how terrible the buy was. I would be living like a king in San Diego right now. But
yeah. Yes. And you'd be too rich to be dicking around with this podcast too.
I know.
Like, I'm not getting Alex.
Probably wouldn't even have a mustache. I'd be such a
too
prude.
good for that. Yeah.
But in 2011, what were your car, motorcycle, boat payments added up? Probably enough for a mortgage, I bet you.
I did have a brand new Harley. I got out of that deployment. I bought a Harley, a truck, a sniper rifle, and that sniper rifle doesn't get used very often. Said truck is now gone, and the Harley I totaled. All very successful investments. Ooh, I also bought tattoos and alcohol.
Okay, I'd like to stand up. I'd like to stand up for alcohol, please.
I did not say anything about that being a bad investment. I just said that
what alcohol ever do to you, man?
Yeah. But yeah, that's such a common theme. And, I don't know what the listener demographic is. on the show. But my hope is if we can reach a couple of 18-year-olds and just be like, dude, just before you go buy not even 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds. You know, the last time I bought a new car, I just bought a new car, but now I promise you I can swing it. Last time I bought a new car was 10 years ago and I could not swing it. And I was 27. So it's not even the 18-year-olds. It's, 30 and below. It's like, dude, just don't buy that car.
Yeah.
Just stop.
And if she won't bang you,
none of
you
that
drive
matters.
a piece of shit, then
Not worth
exactly.
you
She
can't
ain't
afford a
worth
cool
it.
enough car to make. Yeah. Nothing you're driving is that cool anyway. So
Oh man. All right. It's a good thing the explicit box is checked. All right. So resources, right? If there's what's a resource that you would recommend anyone looking to get started in real estate? Whether that's a book, a course, a website, podcast, astrology symbol.
Is this where I should obligatory say military to millionaire?
No.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. No.
No, I mean, what I think
They're
the best
listening to
thing
this. They
people-
already found the resource.
Oh, okay. Yeah. To me, the best thing you can do, man, is when I first started, I lived and died with realtor.com, Zillow.com, Craigslist, and, all that stuff for my local market. I knew what a house cost, what I could rent it for, and what was a good deal. And so I could just scroll through and I could be like, boom, why is that house not, that 3-bedroom, 2-bath house? Why is it so much cheaper than everything else? And so I just became an expert in my local market. And so now I can invest here and I can use that to learn and expand my knowledge. And then I can go into different markets if I want. But I think people try to fancy it up and start trying to study a different market and all that sort of stuff. And I think if they just took all those hours that they spend listening to podcasts and doing everything else, if they just use that to concentrate on their local market and become an expert at that local market, then everything else becomes easy. So I don't know if that's any one resource or whatever, but that's what I would do. I think that's the best advice that I can give anybody.
That's a way different answer than anything we've ever gotten for that. And I actually really like that. Like, just study your area. And there's a lot to be learned from that.
Yeah.
I like that advice.
I could look at a house and I could say, okay, this is 50,000, but I can rent it for 750. You know what I mean? And I could just do that. I can do that now. And so then that allows me to jump on something sooner than somebody else.
I love this advice because if you can look at a deal, if you can know if it's a deal inside of 5 minutes, which if you know the market, you're deadly. Yep. And you can't get a book for that. Like that's experience. That means spending time in your market. But that, like you said, Zillow, the MLS, if you have access to it, realtor.com, Craigslist, like these resources that give you market data. The first thing when somebody gives me an address, it's like Google Maps. I want to see Street View. I want to see the area and I want to see what Zillow says. How, when was the last time it sold? What's the tax value? Like these things, like, I know the area. I know the market. I know the market rent is going to be. I know it's going to be worth when it's sold. I know it's not going to take a few, but you know what I mean? Like all these things, like I know all those things about the market. The property just has to fit into the boxes. Oh, it's in this school district and it's this price. That's all I need to buy it. Buy it.
It doesn't matter. Yep. Exactly. And that's just because you know your market and you can just jump on it. And a lot of our game is being the first, you know what I mean? And so if you can do that, that's all you need.
I bought a duplex in May. And while I was under contract, a buddy of mine was like, hey, can you help me learn how to analyze deals? So I jumped on a Zoom call with him. I was like, you got any properties? He's like, no. I was like, okay, well, let's just use this one as an example. And I ran through it on the calculator or whatever on Bigger Pockets. And we got to the end and I was like, wow, that's really good. And he's like, well, what did you get it the first time you ran it? I was like, I've never run any numbers on this property. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And it was funny because I was literally closing like the next week. And I was just like, I just knew that was a good price for this duplex.
Yeah.
Well, I knew what it would rent for. So whatever, like which is interesting because one of my biggest gripes when I first started was that I lost on a 3-property deal for like $100,000 in Republic. It popped up and I was like, oh, that looks awesome. And then I spent like 4 hours analyzing everything about that deal. And then it was gone. It was under contract that fast. And I remember sitting there and just going like, I knew that was a good deal. Like the moment it popped up, there was like that piece in me, but I didn't know enough about the market yet to like know. So I think that's huge. That's great advice. All
I
right.
love that advice.
Where
Thanks.
can people get a hold of Marty Tyler if they would like to reach out?
I'm not the biggest social media guy. You can find me on the Military to Millionaire Facebook site. Anything like that. They can just shoot me a message on Facebook or whatever. I think it's under Marty Tyler. So yeah, you can just do it that way. But they can email me too. I don't care. Tyler.stars2005@gmail.com. Make sure you put 2005 in there, bud.
Yeah, otherwise you'll send Tyler a Zoom link for a recording a podcast and you'll be like, where is this guy? And then he'll be texting you saying he didn't get your, not that I'm speaking from experience, but
yeah, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Hey, Marty, thank you very much for agreeing to join us on this podcast. Also, thank you for rescheduling on me last week as I asked you super last minute because I was running off to do something else and was like, I can't do all this stuff. Marty, can you do next week? And you agreed. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the help and everything in the market. I look forward to, I should be back there 4 or 5 months and rocking it out. We'll hit up some tax auctions together. I'll bring $80. You bring $10, which, we'll see what happens.
We'll roll the dice, baby.
Hey, I got $90 to gamble on real estate all day. I buy 10 $90 properties and one of those things will work out.
All right, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Marty, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to another episode about my journey from military to millionaire. If you liked it, be sure to visit FromMilitaryToMillionaire.com/podcast to subscribe to future podcasts. While you're there, we'd love for you to rate the show, give us a review on iTunes. Now get out there and take action.